Oh, no, no, no. And it really takes a special type of person to own and run a business, a successful one, right? Anyone can start a business in today's day and age. But to be successful, you got to have. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. For those of you joining the podcast, we are RFH partners, and we specialize in helping people in the construction and B2B SaaS industries scale their revenue. So if you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, make sure you stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop a word in the DMs. Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. Looking forward to this conversation. You've had a long career. Can you walk us through the journey from starting your installation company in Scotland to running it remotely in Vancouver? What were the biggest challenges in making that leap for you?
Yeah, a long career. It feels like it every time I get up in the morning.
I know.
Um,
Me
you know,
too.
it's been interesting. It's been different, I guess. I started out just like anyone in the trade. I started out as an apprentice. Um, Started working for a business. I'm on building sites. And I ended up working for a company. We're doing lots of home improvements, and it was that home improvement side of things that really I started really enjoying. And the guy I worked for retired, so that was retiring. So that was giving me decisions to make. What am I going to do? Am I going to go and work for someone else, or do I work for myself? And an opportunity came along to work for a national kitchen company to install their kitchens. And so, it was just too good an opportunity. So that's
Hmm.
what I did. I became self-employed and subcontracted to this national company and installed their kitchens. And it was great. It was just my life changed overnight. I was suddenly every day I'm in different people's homes, and the job
Right.
lasted. The maximum a job lasted was a week. It was you were always seeing something different. And
Which keeps it exciting, right?
yeah, and I'm
Yeah. Different
and
challenges. Everyone
and from
brings
running a
something.
business, working with someone, suddenly lots of his problems were now mine. And so I
Yeah.
had to subcontract that plumber or the tiler or the electrician, and I'm dealing with their payments and their tax and all these different kinds of things. So that gave me a whole new adventure, something to get my teeth into. And then that went along fine. 2008, massive financial crash across the world. And the company that I worked for went bust. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Now, at that time, I had all my eggs in one basket, and suddenly overnight, I had no work. I'd lost an awful lot of money, and nobody knew who I was. So I had to start again in 2008, 2009. And so I slowly did that, but there was obviously something in the back of my mind from that. I got my business up and running again, but there was something from that that slightly unsettled me. And my wife and I would have these conversations every couple of months about, oh my goodness, let's do something different. And so moving abroad became one of those things. And to cut a long story short, it became Vancouver was going to be the place. That seemed to be
Right. It's a
where it was going to
beautiful
be.
city. It's a beautiful
It's,
city.
but we knew nothing about Vancouver. So my wife said, look, one of us is going to go. We've got 4 young kids, so we can't go together. And we could go, if I
Right.
went with you without the kids, we could go anywhere in the world. It would feel fantastic. And if
Right.
it was just the two of us. So I decided to come to Vancouver on my own for a week. I drove around, looked around, dug deep into the communities and things like that, and decided, yeah, this was the place to come. So one thing led to another. I went back. We put the house on the market. Difficult time again financially in the UK. Housing market was at the bottom, was out of it. But we struggled, and I ended up selling my house 8 weeks before our move. The move was all set up, but it was 8 weeks before we moved. And so, yeah, I came over here. And part of that moving was obviously I had this business and I'd got it back up and running again. So, what was going to happen with the business? And there was lots of people made a lot of money off of what I did. And that
Mm.
didn't sit well. So I just sat down and thought, right, I've got to come up with something. And so I decided to bring in a partner and thinking, well, he could run the day to day. He could run the installations, the work that's there. And I'll go to Canada, and I don't know what I'm going to do in Canada. I'll go to Canada and we'll
Yeah.
see where
Right.
this
Right. Right.
goes. But what that did was it got me off the tools. And now when I had to look for something to do, I was able to focus on the business and different sides of things. And initially that was difficult to do that. To allow someone else or watch someone else do all the work that I did for all these years before and allow them to do it. But that's what we did. And as I say, that allowed me to just focus on different things and start learning a bit more about what it really takes to run a business, and it's not just on the trade side of things.
Yeah. I mean, I can draw a lot of parallels in my professional career. I had a similar incident in 2008 myself. The construction industry was hit hard. A
Yeah,
lot of businesses needed to pivot and figure out what they were going to do. Tough times. You mentioned that about 80% of the UK tradesmen are self-employed, kind of like the man in the van operations. What are the unique daily struggles and pressures that defined that type of business model, especially when it comes to things like quoting and new business? Because you mentioned briefly, like when you put the tools down, you were able to focus on the business, right?
yeah, and
There's so many in the industry they have to do both.
it's a difficult situation for that sole trader. And that's really in the UK, that's my background. Now, it's all these one-man band, man with a van, as you say. But one-man band, they're self-employed. In the 80s, it was Prime Minister was Margaret Thatcher. She made it a lot more easy to become self-employed and run your own business, and gave this vision to people that you could be in control. But what it did was, if you had these skills, your skill was the trade. Your skill was being a joiner, being a plasterer, being a plumber.
Yeah.
And not at any point, whether that's during school or whether it's during your trade, did anybody ever say anything about margins,
Yeah.
marketing
What's
or
a
anything.
margin, right? What's a
Yeah,
margin?
and marketing, or how do you actually get the work? And suddenly everybody's, yeah, I'm going to be self-employed, and I've got a few homers set up. I've got all this, people have came and asked me to fit a few doors for them, and you're all excited because you've got 6 weeks work, and it's like, no, you need a lifetime of work now. Now it's on your shoulders, and that becomes very, very difficult when you're the guy doing the do. And if you're a
Yeah.
one-man band, you have to go out and you have to install that kitchen, or you have to build that fence, or you have to lay that floor. And then, so that causes a lot of problems when it comes to, one, you don't know the other side of the business. You're blagging it, basically, for pricing jobs and quoting jobs and running other trades. Everybody's just winging it. But on a level, they're winging it. And winging it quite well. And it's amazing how you
Yeah.
can adapt.
Yeah.
But it does become difficult in your deal. You turn up to a job and you've got your materials, or your materials delivered, and something's damaged, and now you've got to organise to get that fixed. The customer's on the phone for a job next week asking you questions, and you've got to stop what you're doing. And just all of these different things are coming at you. The plumber doesn't turn up, and you're like, oh my God. Now that's every minute that you're standing there, that's delaying that job. But you're at another job tomorrow. It's just, stress is through the roof.
Yeah.
For sole traders, there's so many different things that are happening. You just spend your life firefighting. And so this dream of having your business, your own little business and your own little empire, that was never sold to you, that side of things, that pressure and that stress. So I think that's an experience for a lot of small SME businesses, a lot of one-man band trades. It's a difficult situation to be in, for sure.
It's hard for a business model like that to scale, right? Because
Yes.
it's, it's the job. You have to be there. It's not like you can be 3 places at once, right?
You're the guy doing the do.
Yeah.
How do you do anything different? And that,
Yeah.
that was kind of what helped. That's what helped me moving here. Changed that for me,
Yeah.
because
Having
I
that,
couldn't do the do anymore. So I had
having
to
a
change.
subcontractor business model definitely changes the landscape, right? Changes the
Yeah.
game for you.
Well, all the subcontractors all have a different vision of what's
Yeah.
important. So you've got your idea, but if they're not employed with you, I mean, he's got all his problems. He's got customers shouting at him. If you're
Hmm.
bringing in that plumber and you want that plumber there, but he's choosing between you and Mrs. Smith shouting louder, it becomes
It
that juggling match of doing it
usually ends up being where he's going to get paid the quickest, right?
the quickest. But it's a juggling match, and
Yeah.
but you do get skilled at that. You do. You get skilled at blagging. You get skilled at juggling customers, but you're so close to that edge all the time, doing, and that's a stressful life for sure.
Yeah, I have a close friend of mine that's a plumber. He's got a couple guys that work for him. He does a good living for himself.
Yeah.
He's like you said, he's always on the edge, right?
Yes.
He's working 7 days a week, and yeah, then his wife yells at him because he spent all his time working, but none of his bills are out, right?
A weekend millionaire. That's how you end up as a sole trader. Do you know what I mean? You get paid this big chunk
Oh,
of
that's
money and then it just all suddenly disappears and then you're back there on Monday again.
all right. What's your thoughts on, the construction industry, especially the smaller trades type people? It's kind of like an old boys club. Why do you think it's estimates on the back of a napkin, right? It's a handshake kind of deal. What's the reluctancy to adopt technology? What's your thoughts on that? Because
I
it's
just think,
really, it's coming whether they want it or not, right?
yeah, when you come to trades, if you look at the average, again, we're using big paintbrushes here.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you look at the average age of a tradesman, they're towards the end of their career. No, they're
exactly.
50, 55 plus, and there's more going out of the business than is coming in. That's a
Right.
worry. But
Yeah.
but you've got this. We weren't born. Most of the tradesmen out there, and I'm using a big paintbrush, but a lot of the
Yeah.
tradesmen out there are they weren't born with technology of this level, and so what they're skilled at is what they do, and they're very skilled at that, and that's what they know. And it's about seeing the one. It's about seeing the benefits. How does this technology benefit me? How is this going to change my life? I've still got to go out and fit Mrs. Smith's kitchen. How's it going to change my life? It
Yeah.
doesn't, because that still needs to be done. And
Right.
it's where am I going to find the time to sit down and learn all that or learn about this kind of thing? Tradesmen, I think, of course, you've always got the unicorns that can really grasp it. They're maybe a bit younger, maybe a bit more technically
Right.
minded, and just ended up in the trades. And they've ran with it. And you look at like social media and some TikTok sensations and all this, and they've ran with this kind of technology to help promote their business. And that's great. But a lot of guys aren't. And a lot of guys are, when you really get down to the grind and the real core of construction, these guys that are hands on, they're calluses on their hands, they're working hard every day and grinding for every
Mhm.
penny.
Mhm. I
We're
think you're,
still on the one fingered emails.
yeah,
So technology is like, oh my goodness.
yeah, yeah. No, 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 I agree. And I think, the generation that's in the workforce now, or there wasn't a focus on the trades, right? It
Mm-hmm.
was go to college, come out with a degree and, you're going to have a great life. So there wasn't a lot of people that were trained in the trades. And I think that narrative I hope it's changing. I think it's changing with the big, AI boom. And I think there's a lot of kids coming out today that see the value or see the potential in entering the trades.
Absolutely.
The issue that I see there is, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm sure you wouldn't be where you are today if you weren't working side by side with the people that have been in the industry for, so many years, right? You're
Absolutely.
just not, you need that training, right? You
Mm-hmm.
need that old timer teaching you how to run that pipe or, wire that, it's just that's where I think we missed, a decade or two of that type of training. And I think you're going to see I think you are already seeing a shift towards the trades, which I think is great. And I think,
Yeah.
the more AI grows and the more time that goes down the road, that's where the jobs are going to come from. That's where the boom in jobs are going to be. That's what
Oh,
I.
yeah, definitely. From trade, I don't see any time in the near future that you're going to have an AI plumber. It just isn't happening. AI will help that plumber, but we still need the trades. And yes, mentorship and coaching is so underrated. I
Yeah.
mean, people need to realize that if you've got people who've been in the trades all their life, they can help you get from A to B a lot quicker than you'll get to A to B on your own because you've got a whole load of mistakes you're going to make. These guys have already made them. And
Yeah.
so, and you could offer that advice and guide them and help them understand how to get beyond that man in a van, how to get
Right.
that dream that they want, how to be successful. You'll always be, if yourself, I always believe if you want to work for yourself and be and work for yourself and be self-employed, to be able to go out and make a living and make a wage, I think most people could do that.
Yeah. I
Whether
agree.
that be in construction or be in any kind of industry, I think you'll
Mhm.
do that. But all you've really done is bought yourself a job. So you have your job, you're getting your wage, but you bought a whole load of stress that you could have, that you avoided when you were employed for someone. Are you making much more money? I don't think you are. I think you are, but you're
Yeah.
not. And when you actually, if you added up all the hours, like of a tradesman or a sole trader, yeah, they may be earning, they feel they're earning a little bit of money. But I dare anybody to sit down and count the hours that they've worked, not the 8 o'clock to 4 on the job fit in the kitchen, It's the 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock when they go home. Or those few hours at the weekend. Add those hours up and then spread that across what you're earning. I bet you see that your hourly wage isn't really that much different from being employed.
Oh, no, no, no. And it really takes a special type of person to own and run a business, a successful one, right? Anyone can start a business in today's day and age. But to be successful, you gotta have that grit, determination, and that, I think the biggest issue with businesses failing today, and I think it's probably been that way for a very long time, is the mindset you just don't quit. I mean, things aren't always roses, right? Things are going to get tough, and the business owners that can pivot and grind and find a solution and just don't quit mentality are ultimately going to prevail. Yeah, it's important. And I think, to kind of put a bow around this with technology and the man in the van, and the one thing that all these people experience from one time or another, and I think it really also plays on where you are geographically. Areas have more opportunities than others, right? Is
Absolutely.
that feast or famine, right? Where all of a sudden you have all this work and then you have got nothing, right?
Yep.
Because what have you done? You've focused all your efforts on your trade to build this beautiful project, whether it's installing a kitchen or building a house, but you haven't spent any time looking ahead going, where am I going next, right?
Yep.
And that there is where AI and the technology can really help them build that consistent lead generation where they can focus on their ideal client and bring opportunity, and that's, once it's set up, that's working behind the scenes 24 hours a day.
I agree. Again, back to that micro business, the small, the tradesman, the bulk of tradesmen in an industry. It's, when are you meant to do that? When you're at your busiest, you think, oh, here we go. I'm making a fortune. Life is good. The work's coming in. But nobody's taught you. It's never been discussed at any point that that's the point where you need to do all your marketing. That's the point when you really need to be pushing. When that peak starts going down the way, because it will go down. Right. So you need to start putting yourself out there. But how do you do that? You don't have the time because you're doing the do. Right. And that's how this slight flaw in the model of the one-man band again, if you're just looking to stroll through life, that's fine. You can make it work. But if you're looking for something better, you're looking for a better life, you're looking for a better business, you want to leave a legacy, you've got to grow. And growing means being able to market when you're busy so that you don't get that downtime and the work is there consistently. Right. The other thing is also not panicking. Of course I went through the peaks and troughs of in that same situation because there's only so much time in the day. And so you had to do the work. But I tried to step back and look upon it more as an annual thing, more as a yearly thing. I didn't focus on, oh my God, no, I'm not earning any money this month. If it was a quiet month or a quiet few weeks, I looked upon it, well, this is what it is in the grand scheme of the year. And I used that time wisely to not just to market, but to try and learn ways of what can I do that makes it easier when I'm busy? How can I change things when I'm really, really busy? And it's back to educating yourself as to how to do that. And again, lots of times, it's obviously I'm doing that before this big massive AI technology thing. For me, it was about building relationships. So I would go and visit businesses and speak to the people I worked with, people who gave me work. I would spend the time. I would take a coffee and donuts and go and chat to them and build that relationship and get personal with them. Because I knew that I needed to be the guy when there was very little work. I needed to be the guy on their mind that when that job came through, they thought of me. And so that was top of mind. And so if maybe I wasn't working, maybe I wasn't earning money, but what I can do is I can go and make you remember me. And
so when they need help, they go, oh, Mark is just here, right?
Let's call him. You just never know. And that was kind of what I focused on. When it was just, again, time constraints, you could only do so much in a day. So, but what could I do when I was quiet? That's what I could do.
Yeah. What's the current mindset as it relates to AI with the professionals that you deal with every day? Is it confusion? Is it fear?
I think people are unsure. They're unsure which way this is going to go. Where's this all going to end up? So,
well, I think you and I could both pontificate on where we think we're going to be in the next 3 to 5 years, but I think we could agree that we're most likely probably not going to be right? Because it's just growing.
Absolutely.
It's mind onto itself.
Changing and morphing, and there has to be some, I don't know how they get control of it and keep it under control, there's all that side of things, but that's another conversation. But for a tradesman, I think they are, you know what, they're having a bit of fun with it. They're having a laugh with it. Are they taking it serious? No, not necessarily. Here and there, suddenly you have people who are, you'll get war and peace posts on LinkedIn if they've suddenly found that they can stick a little idea in the chat GPT and it'll churn out a 1,000-word story for them. But it's not authentic to them. And so is that really promoting your business or helping your business? So there's all of that's got to get under control. But I think Joe Average out there working the trades, the plumber, the joiner, the electrician, of course there are some people who are wisely using it to their advantage and learning about it. But to just the man in the van, I think he's still waiting to see how this is going to pan out. Yeah, there are little things that they'll do. That they'll do it with AI for photographs, or maybe give them a professional picture or whatever. These kinds of low-level things, nothing that's dramatically going to change their life. I think they're still waiting on that to see how this is going to pan out for them. And again, because they don't have the time. They don't have the time to go and do it. And I think this will pivot into, someone else is going to have to do this, because those tradesmen still need to fit that kitchen.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, it's the implementation. I'll end the AI conversation with this. If you could press a button and instantly solve one major operational headache for your installers using technology, what would it be and why? Or maybe you don't know.
I would say two things if I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quoting is a big deal.
Yep.
What happens is, again, you're working the tradesmen are working all day. So they start at 7 o'clock going to get materials. They're on the job for 8 o'clock. They skip lunch. They work all day. It's 5 o'clock. I learned the trick that I learned very quickly. When I got home, the minute I walked in that door, my wife, we had 4 young kids. So there's varying degrees of that in people's homes. But when I walked in, my wife wanted my attention. My kids wanted my attention. She would hand me the baby. I mean, it was all this, and that was a nightmare, because I had a phone, Mrs. Smith. I had these texts coming in. I had calls coming in. I had a job to quote. That was stress on another level. So what I learned to do was finish my job and park around the corner, because as long as I didn't walk in that house, my wife was fine and the household was fine, and it carried on. But if I spent an hour in the van and caught up with the various phone calls, made my calls, sent a few emails, that took the pressure right off me. And then I can spend the time with the kids. We could have dinner. Everybody could settle down. And then maybe at 8, 9 o'clock, I could go and do that quote that I needed to get out for the next day. And that's, if we could change that, I think that would be helpful to people, to be able to talk notes into their phone. And just say, this is the job, this is what we've got, we're going to be on here for 3 days, we need a skip, we're going to need a plumber for a day and a half, this, that, and the next thing, boom. When he gets home, it's all sitting there, and he just needs to tweak it and tidy it up and send it. That kind of thing would be, super helpful to tradesmen.
So the future of your business, where do you see it going?
My business now, I have a relatively new business now. I started my business, KBB Momentum, surrounded by what we're talking about, but focusing on helping that sole trader, that kitchen and bathroom installer. That's my background. I was 30 years of running an installation company. I understand installers, I understand subcontractors all around that trade, and I understand the problems that they have day to day. But the fundamental thing I understand is, I talked about, we're an aging workforce, and there's not enough young people coming in. There are young people wanting to get into the trades, but there's not enough tradesmen willing to train them or willing to take them on. And I believe it's because they're sole traders and they're too small. Because when you're a sole trader and you bring someone in, if you're lucky enough to get someone to come in to train them, and you have them, you're putting a big investment of time, a minimum wage and all these things. But the cost of having someone working for you that isn't giving you any output is expensive. And also, that job that you've got 1 week to do, it's going to take you longer when you've got to focus and train someone else. So you're instantly losing money, and it's instantly costing you money. And once you train that guy up, 4 years down the line, well, they're actually trying to shorten these training schemes to 2 years, 18 months, and they're trying to flood the market.
Some of these programs are coming out as a licensed plumber, electrician, and HVAC tech. They put, what do you call it? Apprenticeship hours to it, where you have to have so many hundreds of hours of apprenticeship. But that's
That's a
That's
disaster
scary.
waiting for another
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
But as I say, you've got these young apprentices, and now they've fully qualified, and they're working along with a guy, and that guy seems to be doing well, and you're getting a wage. When you're one on one like that, your girlfriend, your mum, or whoever it is starts getting in your ear and thinking, you know what, you could do that. Why don't you start your own business? Why don't you get look towards that? And he thinks, yeah, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. So then he leaves, and it's very difficult for a one man band to offer enough incentive and enough money or
Yeah.
whatever to keep that person. So now what you've done is you've just trained your competition because you're now
Yeah.
diluting the work that's out there.
Well, the younger people, like assuming that you're training, they're living hand to mouth normally. So they're not looking at it long term. They're looking at,
No,
oh, I can make an extra $100 a week, right? Or I can make an
absolutely.
extra $50, right? Yeah, that's the problem. You're literally training your competition.
So the key for me was with this consultancy side of things, it was about doing what I did, teaching people to do what I did, and then you could do what I did from anywhere in the world. I mean, I came to Vancouver and was able to continue doing
Yeah.
this. But what it is about growing your business, and for that, getting that tradesman, fundamentally getting that tradesman off the tools. So that aging workforce, if you're 55 years old, you're thinking about where is this going to end? Have you pumped money into your pension? Are you
Yeah.
thinking about after you're retired? No, no, that's never been really a high priority all your career. But now there's a panic, and there's not enough money to put in to get anything out. So now you're trying to grow something. And to grow something, once you can start growing that business, now bringing in an apprentice is a good thing. And it's helpful to your business. But also, you're creating a brand. And if you can create a brand, it doesn't matter if that guy leaves. He can't compete against the brand. He can compete
Right.
against you one on one. But if you've got a company and a brand that's out there, that brand has a life of its own. And that small one man band doesn't compete against the
Well,
brand.
that brand has trust,
Yes.
has verification. It has these people don't even need to know you. You're a brand. You're
Yes.
trusted within your industry and your area. So yeah,
Absolutely. So if you could build that business, and it doesn't need to be huge. We're not talking about trying to create a mega business, but like that for
yeah,
an installer, if you can become from a one man band to having, say, 4 installation teams installing kitchens for you, you've got a really good brand there, and you've got a really good business that's churning off money. You've been able to step away. You've got admin in. You've got people looking after all the various bits and pieces that aren't your skill set,
yeah.
but you've got, and you're just directing it and managing it and orchestrating it. And I think that's a key for a lot of people to give them, again, this aging workforce. And if we can get them a little bit bigger, they will be willing to take on those younger people. And that in itself will help the construction industry to start growing. But bringing young people in, put them in a training centre and expecting them to learn a trade in 6 months, 18 months, 2 years, that's a tough one. I don't see how that's going to go overly well. I served my time for 4 years, and even on day one after 4 years, it was it was a grind. That's when the real learning does start. So there is an element that you do learn once you're on the tools, and once the buck stops at you, you learn pretty quick.
What are the current goals for KBB Momentum right now? What are you working on?
I'm working with a couple of interesting contracts uh, with businesses, just helping them behind the scenes. Can't go into too much detail with it, but
No, I understand.
a couple
Yeah.
of exciting projects of just
Good.
supporting what they do at this moment in time, and what that's doing is introducing me to businesses. It's given me a really good insight. One of the things, I'll just put this out there to your audience. One of the things one of the jobs I'm doing is it's forcing me to go and visit people's websites. And I'm going through all the different websites and then hundreds of websites I'm looking at of different companies. And if I could leave anything, is go and have a look at your website and really look at it though, and look at it from a customer's point of view and try and see what they see. You know what, you could probably even put your website in the chat GPT or something to Perplexity or wherever, and get them to grade your website and look at it, because there's a lot of businesses that are decent businesses out there, but their websites are like, oh my god, it's scary, and their businesses would be so much better with tweaks on their websites.
A lot of people don't, I think they understand that they need a website, but a website can be powerful. You
A
can
huge tool.
track, who visits it. There's a lot of things you can do. And that's just another example of what AI can do. They can optimize websites and set up
Well, the
tracking.
thing is, what people need to look and think about for the future is AI is going to change how you're found as a business. Now, Google, we could have Google ads, we could your SEO. It can, it used to be you wanted on page one. Now page one is just so average. Is not.
Well, you have to be ranked with AI now. It's not just
Exactly.
Google. You got to be ranked with ChatGPT, Perplexity, and all these others.
But now these tools are looking for different things. These tools are not looking for you, that you've paid, you advert. They're looking for certifications. They're looking for accreditations. All these things are different signals that AI is going to look for to think, you know what? Yeah, this is a really reputable business. So throwing a little bit of money at Google ads, things are going to change. I know for myself that I was a Google guy, and I'd Google everything. No, and when I'm searching, I'm probably 60-40 now. And the 40 is like, when I do a search on Google, God, why am I doing this on Google? I get far better answer if I go on AI.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's changing. And it's amazing the different answers and the different angle that AI looks at, that who's the best guy out there for what you're looking for. And so there's going to be a lot of businesses that are going to get caught out with this. And this is happening rapidly. AI has been, and as I say, it's been in a very short space of time that my habits of searching have changed. When I'm looking for a company, when I'm looking for a product, I'm not always going to Google. But all these businesses, you need to think about how you're going to get found, and really look at that. It could be a good tool. It could be very useful for you. And people if you'd spend a little bit of time understanding AI, understanding how you'll be found by AI, little things like accreditations and being, you are who you hang around with. So being aligned with the right organizations. These are all good signals for AI to think, this is a reputable business. We will push them forward.
Nailed it. You've nailed it. That's exactly what's happening. How do our listeners find you?
They will find me, Mark Conacher, on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn fan. I think that's how we got together, was on LinkedIn.
Exactly.
You could email me at mark@kbbmomentum.com, or you can visit me at kbbmomentum.com.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners? Maybe you have a lot of interest in right now or working on?
Yeah, just, you know what, my interest is tradesmen. It's young, getting the young people into the trades. And really, the trades is, we said earlier, construction, the trades has been good to us. Yes, there are pivots and dips and bumps in the road, and that's all part of the adventure. And it's exciting and it's different, and it's a great industry to be part of. I think I found it niching down into the kitchen and bathroom industry was very beneficial for me. It's like anything, you think this industry is big, but it's very small. But it's allowed me to do just different things that I would never be able to do. I'm headed to the trade show called the Installer Show in the UK, and they bought over the Build It trade show, which is in New York in March. So I'm headed there to speak in New York at this trade show. I mean, that's fun. That's exciting.
I've spent 30 years of my career in Manhattan.
Yeah, so it opened. There's a trade. So I'm starting as a little business in Dundee, and however many years later, I'm speaking at a trade show in New York. That's the kind of adventure that the trades can open up for you if you're willing to pivot and move and go with the flow. It could be an exciting thing, and I think young people just need to embrace this. There's so much more than a degree, and I think they know that things are changing. I know here in Canada, I think it's in Ottawa, they've opened up that rather than doing grade 12, if you in grade 11 you could leave and start doing your apprenticeship a year earlier, and getting into if you're going into the trades, things like that. Government's looking at ideas like that. I think is great, getting it back into schools and talking to young people, and that comes from these kinds of podcasts. If a young person could see this and maybe be inspired to get into the trades, or to reach out and say, hey, how do I get into the trades? Where do I start? You know what? Please reach out to me, or I guess for yourself as well. You're always willing to point people in the right direction, because if I don't know, I definitely know a guy who does. And it's just about supporting one another in this industry, for sure.
It's awesome. It's been a great conversation. I've enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm sure our listeners are too. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.